For teams that maybe are seated a little bit lower, how much weight can you put on momentum heading into this tournament? Maybe a team that did better toward the end of their season, but for whatever reason, injuries or just not doing as well in the beginning of the season, were seated maybe lower than they deserve. How does that affect the rest of your bracket as you put it together?
Well, you really have to dig into the why behind why they had a run at the end of the season. And I was just at the Sloan Sports Analytics Conference in Boston over the weekend, and one of the things they talked about in the gambling panel was recency bias and how much the general public, when betting, tends to overvalue what has been happening recently in play in any sport, really. So you really have to dig into the why. It's not, if a team's hot, it doesn't mean you ignore them or they're automatically overvalued. You have to dig deep and figure out why that is that they got hot. And we've seen before teams like Connecticut 2011 where they got hot at the right time, won the Big East tournament, and then went on to win the NCAA tournament. So you can also expect in the lines that teams that got recently hot, they probably are a tiny bit overvalued in terms of the points they're getting in the first round here. So those are things you want to look at.
Interesting. So when you are digging deep into what's making a team successful right now, what are the statistics that bettors should be concentrating on when filling out their brackets in terms of stats that will usually correlate with success?
Yeah, well, you mentioned it. With injuries, sometimes teams have injury issues at the start of the year, and those players develop by the end of the season, and the team really gels. So that's one key indicator for sure. And what I'm looking for teams that are higher scoring. When I'm looking for upsets and things like that, I'm looking for teams that this is a kind of a rare time for me in all sports where I'm looking to offense before defense. Normally, Tom Izzo said it yesterday when Michigan State, when they were playing their game, in one of his interviews, he said defense usually wins championships, and that's true. But when it comes to upsets and betting in single games like this in the NCAA tournament, I'm looking to offense. So that means looking for teams that shoot a lot of three-pointers. Rebounding is another one where I really take a close look. So even if teams are missing shots, they're getting good rebounds.